Texas Stadium, please welcome Hollywood recording artist whose debut album has just reached #2 on the charts, Demi Lovato.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Beautifully done by Demi Lovato on this Thanksgiving at Texas Stadium. When we come back from the field, Pam Oliver, we'll talk with Tony Romo.
There's no more lasting way to say I love you.
It is a gorgeous day in Dallas on this Thanksgiving at Texas Stadium. We get ready for kickoff. The Cowboys won the toss. They will receive. And that means Romo will go to work, and he's standing by with Pam Oliver.
Well, Tony Romo, what are some of the challenges as you face another desperate team with nothing to lose?
Well, you know, we just got to come out and play good football. You know, we're fighting for our playoff lives right now. So, you know, we stress the importance of that all week, and, you know, we're going to come out here and hopefully play good.
Last week, a terrific week for your #1 receiver. What can you take from that performance from Terrell Owens last week and apply it to this one?
He played good. You know, I think you know, we had a lot of guys do some good things last week. So we're excited about going forward from here, and hopefully we can continue to get better week by week. You know, hopefully we've got a good chance to get in the playoffs and do something.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Back to you, Joe. Happy Thanksgiving up there.
You too, Pam. Absolutely, and thanks to Tony Romo for stopping by and chatting with Pam. I'll say that Terrell Owens had a big week last week. 213 yards receiving against San Francisco in what was a 35-22 win over the 49ers, improving the Cowboy record to 7-4. But right now on the outside of the playoff picture looking in, with a nasty month of December coming up schedule-wise. Mare kicks it off. Orlando Scandrick on the return for Dallas. Brought down with a good hit after he crossed the 25 by Kevin to 5-yard return. And now the offense, and you know, we don't usually talk about specifics across the offensive line, Troy, but Kyle Kozar is down again. And you look in that huddle and you see the Montre Holland gets the start. It's not Corey Proctor at left guard.
Yeah, they made a trade for Montre Holland back at the beginning of the season and hasn't played very much. Now, Corey Proctor has been the guy because Kyle Kozar has not been able to stay healthy.
Kozar is missing his 9th game. He may be finished for the year. Dallas will start with a throw, and Romo to Roy Williams, a bit behind him, incomplete. Take a look at the defense, and they come in. The Seattle Seahawks do rank 29th in the NFL. They're usually, Troy, very good at this spot right here, the linebacker position with Lofa Tatupu, but he's had a down year here in 08.
Yeah, the entire linebacking core has really not played to the level that we're accustomed to seeing them play to. They've been the heartbeat of this defense for many years, but not this season.
2nd down and 10. Romo throws. Terrell Owens with a catch. And he picked up 8.5. Marcus Trufant is there defending. There was so much talk, Troy, after last week's game against San Francisco that the 49ers defensive backs, cornerbacks, didn't get up and press Terrell Owens. Trufant is not a big guy. If they ask him to do that, Owens, with his size, should be able to handle Trufant.
Well, he should be able to, and I think the other part of it, as we saw last week, whenever Seattle is able to get a free rusher on Tony Romo, they've got to be able to make the play. Last week, the big plays that Dallas got was due to Tony Romo escaping somebody in the pocket and allowing Terrell Owens then to get down the field.
3rd down and 1 out of the shotgun. Romo throws incomplete, but a penalty flag comes in. Roy Williams and Josh Wilson were hooked up on the outside.
Well, to me, that's a call that they're looking at Josh Wilson, but it was an uncatchable ball.
Illegal hands to the face. Number 26, defense. 5-yard penalty and an automatic 1st down.
Well, Wilson got the hands up into the face and the automatic 1st down for Dallas.
Yeah, and this has been really the Achilles heel for this defense all season long. They've just not been able to get off the field on 3rd down. Here you've got a situation where Romo and Roy Williams are not on the same page. An errant pass, you get off the field, but because of a defensive penalty, keeps this drive going.
Holmgren just wished an official happy Thanksgiving. Marion Barber, first carry of the day. Up to the 47, picked up 5. Howard Green on the tackle for Seattle. You know, when we talked to Mike Holmgren, he said, I can understand why offensively we've struggled. I mean, it's been a ridiculous list of injuries for the Seahawks. But he said, defensively, I don't understand it. We should be better than we are. Said, I went in early in the season and said, guys, we have to keep it down. Offensively, we don't have it in 08, and it hasn't happened.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that just assume that the problem Seattle has had this year has been because of the struggles offensively. The defense has been just as poor.
Again from the shotgun. Romo down the middle for Witten. What a throw. 1st down inside the 20.
Well, they're matching strong safety Deion Grant on Jason Witten. You're going to see the release, and then once Witten gets to the inside, it's over. All he's got to do then is just lay the ball to the inside. There's no other help. And in that coverage, you just can't allow a guy to come off the ball free and then get to the middle of the field. You know, Jason Witten, over the last couple of weeks, he's not been a real big factor. Last week, only catching 1 ball. But then that is what allowed Terrell Owens to have the big day that you talked about.
On 1st down, Romo buys a little time, throws, end zone, touchdown, Bennett, the rookie. Three straight weeks with a touchdown for the rookie Martellus Bennett.
You know, Seattle initially does a pretty good job in coverage. They're just unable to get any pressure on Tony Romo, and once he gets outside the pocket, you can see Lofa Tatupu and the others. It's just hard to then stay with those guys with the threat of the quarterback escaping the pocket and running with the football.
3rd week back from the broken little finger on the right hand for Tony Romo. He started very slowly last week against San Francisco. That little finger is getting more and more healthy. The passes from Romo have more and more zip. And this one, an easy pitch and catch for a touchdown for Dallas.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees.
Tony Romo on that first drive, 3 of 4, 61 yards and a touchdown. Don't forget that hands to the face penalty called against Josh Wilson that kept the drive alive. And 7 quick points for Dallas. Here is Josh Wilson. on the return. Brought down from behind. Just signed Trey Battle. That's his first play as a Dallas Cowboy, and he chases down Josh Wilson and brings him down after a return of only 18 yards. His first day in a Cowboy uniform, wearing number 35, and Trey Battle lets everybody know he's here. Not a good combination when you have a bulging disc in your back and you have an offensive line that has been racked by injuries.
No, that's not a good combination.
That's where Matt Hasselbeck is sitting right now as he drops back to throw and hits. He gets Corin Robinson, who makes a move and gets a first down right out of the gate for Seattle. Working against Terrence Newman, and because of injuries up in the offensive line, and it looks like Hasselbeck's trying to get a little jump in the step of this 2-9 Seahawk team. Spencer is out, Mike Wall is out, and they've had movement, Troy, across that front on the offensive line.
Yes, they have. And the left side up until last week was the one group that was playing every week, but with Wall and Spencer out again this week.
Deion Branch, the intended receiver, and this time Newman was stride for stride with the Seattle receiver. And now the defense. This could be a big day for big number 90 there in the middle, Jay Ratliff, who's on a hot roll right now on the defensive line, and he's working against an inexperienced center.
Well, you look at what the Cowboys have done over the last few weeks. They've been able to get after the quarterback. Not a defensive unit that has a lot of takeaways for the year, but over the last 3 weeks they've been pretty good in that department as well.
Former Cowboy Julius Jones gets it, and he is wrestled down after a gain of 4. Jones, who spent the first 4 years of his career here in Dallas, brought down by Jay Ratliff, and they boo Julius Jones when his name is announced here. But a guy who was phased out in favor of Marion Barber, and a guy who is charged up for this appearance here at Texas Stadium.
Julius Jones showed a lot of flashes when he first came to Dallas, and yet injuries are what ultimately kept him from having better seasons. But last year, as you said, he was a starter for all 16 games, yet it was his least productive season while he was with the Cowboys.
And it was Marion Barber who ended up as a Pro Bowler. A blitz coming. What a block from the fullback Weaver, and a pass complete to Branch. Leonard Weaver, the fullback, put Brady James on his back as he came on a blitz.
I tell you, Leonard Weaver, a very versatile player in the backfield, and you have to be if you're going to be a fullback slash tailback in this scheme. You got to be able to block as he does there. And what a throw here by Matt Hasselbeck. Not a great route by Deion Branch, and not a lot of places for him to really put the ball, but he lays it perfectly right out in front of Deion Branch and in stride.
Only the 9th catch this year for Branch. That'll be number 10 as he comes back to get it. Has a first down at the 35. And what'd you say when we first came on the air? Hasselbeck clearly is one of the elite quarterbacks when he's right and healthy, and when he gets hot, as he has started here, he is tough to slow down.
No question. And I think if you look at the games that he has had, yes, it's been a bumpy ride. But then there have been periods within each of those games to where he has thrown the ball like we're accustomed to seeing from Matt Hasselbeck. He's a terrific quarterback. And as I said, when he gets hot, I mean, there's very few throws that he cannot put on a dime. And that's not a good sign for Dallas if he comes out and begins throwing the football as he has here.
Handoff is to Julius Jones. Bounces off a couple tacklers. The ball is loose. And the Dallas Cowboys have it. A fumble by Julius Jones. So a good drive was being put together by the Seahawks, and the former Dallas Cowboy Jones puts it on the ground. Dallas takes over up 7.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Moving forward. By Circuit City. We'll hook you up with our one price promise. Web or store, same low price. And by FedEx, your ultimate NFL air and ground player.
Not the return that Julius Jones had in mind. He fumbles on his second carry to stop what looked to be a promising drive for Seattle. 7-0 Dallas. Tony Romo back to throw, and now he's going to run. Middle of the field wide open. And Romo slides down at the 43. A 15-yard run, his longest of the season, back to the fumble.
Well, there's Tank Johnson. He's going against Steve Vallows, who, as you said, Joe's making his first NFL start, and he got a great push inside and clogged it up. But, you know, Julius Jones just got a bit there in the line of scrimmage and then laid it on the ground. It came out right away. Julius Jones was trying to chase it down the field, but it didn't look like it was that hard of a hit. Certainly not something that should have been able to jar the ball loose.
Barber gets it on a toss, running right, and forced out after a gain of 5.
I'll tell you what, if they're not able to get more pressure on Tony Romo than what they have so far, I understand it's early, but if they give him that kind of time, he's either going to be able to run as he did on that last one and get some pretty good yardage, or he's going to pick them apart. And we saw that on the first possession.
And when you think about getting pressure on a quarterback, you think about Patrick Kearney, who's on IR with a shoulder injury. He's gone with his 5 sacks. And not available to this pass rush as Romo has a good pocket, finds Witten, his second catch. Out of bounds at the 45 with a first down. If you ever want proof that you can never take a team lightly in the NFL, that would happen with the St. Louis Rams or the Dallas Cowboys, because as you look at the playoff picture, you have the 4 division leaders, you have the 2 wild card leaders at the moment, and then this fight certainly in the hunt, the Dallas Cowboys, Atlanta Falcons 7-4, but right now on the outside looking in, and that loss at St. Louis, and it was a blowout loss, could really come back and haunt this Dallas team. How about the rollout to the right? Romo finds Witten, who makes a one-handed catch. And what a way for Jason Witten to get to 400 career receptions. So there's number 400, and that was the right-handed, one-handed spinning catch for another Dallas first down.
And let me remind you again that Jason Witten is playing with a broken rib, and so for him to be able to come back and get up for that ball, that's not an easy catch to make, even when you're healthy, let alone when you have a broken rib.
How's this one started for Dallas?
I think probably about as well as they had hoped. You know, they have been a slow starter this season, but I think Seattle was hoping for that again today, but that's not been the case.
Marion Barber brought down by Darryl Tapp. Had help from Howard Green, a gain of 2.
I tell you, I kind of wonder as we move through the end of this year what the wear and tear on Marion Barber's body this year is going to do to him. I mean, he already has more carries after 11 games than he had all of last season. You know, you talked about the fact that Julius Jones was the starter last year, and Marion Barber came in off the bench, was very productive. Felix Jones going down this year early has made Marion Barber the featured guy and really the 3-down back.
Here is an end around to Roy Williams, plenty of room to run. And their former Detroit Lion, who was rescued out of that situation with Detroit, gains 13 yards before he's forced out by Julian Peterson.
And you think he's happy to be playing again on Thanksgiving only for the Cowboys today?
Yeah, especially considering what happened today in Detroit and what the Tennessee Titans did, taking out their frustration after losing their first game to the Jets on the now 0-12 Detroit Lions. First down at the 18. Barber again. Down inside the 1. A 17-yard run for Marion Barber. And Mike Holmgren's got to be thinking, how in the world are we going to stay in this game?
Well, you'll get a chance to see what Marion Barber saw as this thing unfolds. There's just a huge lane right up the middle. He gets right in behind Deion Anderson, and you can see the opening that he has to get through. Right now, that offensive line doing a pretty good job inside of moving some people out. This is an undersized defensive front for Seattle.
Barber runs into a wall, and that gets a groan out of this crowd as Rocky Bernard and Leroy Hill were in there to make the play for Seattle. 2nd and goal. Again, Mike Holmgren telling us what he's proud of is that his team has not quit playing, and guys are still playing hard. Look at the play by Hill right there in the hole to just stop Marion Barber in his tracks. A 2-9 Seattle team for a franchise that's been to the playoffs 5 straight years. And now Hill on the sideline being looked at. 2nd and goal. Barber, that was easy. Touchdown.
I'll tell you, both drives have been pretty easy. Hadn't been a lot of resistance for the Cowboys on those 2 possessions. They've pretty much done what they've wanted to do, whether that's through the air or on the ground. And we still can't get a smile out of Wade Phillips.
Wade Phillips, who has had a rough year for a team that came in and to all the world looked like they were going to waltz right into the playoffs, be a #1 seed type team, and now they're fighting to get back to the playoffs. But Tony Romo, who is 2-0 as a starting quarterback on Thanksgiving, is off to a great start and having fun. 14-zip Dallas.
On behalf of all the family members of the 4th Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cav Division in Fort Hood, Texas, we want to wish all of our Long Knife soldiers a very happy Thanksgiving. We're proud of all of our soldiers. We miss you. Come home soon. Happy Thanksgiving!
And no doubt all of us should think about those families who have loved ones serving in the armed forces here at home, with thoughts of family members overseas, or certainly with those individuals who are overseas and wishing they were home on a day like this. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and it's been a happy start for the Dallas Cowboys, up 14-0 as Josh Wilson takes it in at the 5. And Wilson is wrestled down across the 30 at the 31, a 26-yard return. Rocky Bernard brought his fighting stuff here today on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Tio.
Are you aware of an impending attack on the planet Earth?
Kind of get the feeling here that Seattle needs to move the ball to try and climb back in this one. It has been all Dallas. And a quick throw is to the rookie tight end. They just moved the ball. Carlson is ripped down inside the 40. That was about as easy as it could be, with Hasselbeck just stood up and dumped it off to Carlson for 33 yards.
I'll tell you what, they shifted Julius Jones out wide. He's out here, and then they get confused in coverage as a result of that. They bring the pressure, they bring linebackers, but nobody then accounted for Carlson on the hot route.
33 yards for Carlson. And now Julius Jones, who fumbled, and prior to his fumble, Seattle was having a decent drive. 6 plays, 46 yards, 3 first downs on the possession, but then Julius Jones fumbled and Dallas just walked right down the field and scored the touchdown.
I'm a little surprised that Mike Holmgren decided to go back with Julius Jones. Last week they started Maurice Morris. He was coming off his best game of his season last week, and you thought that, well, they've got something going here pretty special with Maurice Morris. Why not play him? They went with Jones because, as you said, Joe, he spent all those years here in Dallas, but after the fumble, I thought that might be it.
Here is Ingram with his first catch, a yard shy of a first down, and Bobby Ingram has always been a favorite target for Matt Hasselbeck. Even though that was a second down play, Ingram's always been a good third down receiver, but to the frustration of the Seattle quarterback, Seahawks kind of gone away from Ingram on third down this year.
Yeah, they have. And Matt Hasselbeck was telling us that he'd like to see him more involved and be the featured guy. He says in past years he was the featured guy on third down, but he has not been featured as much this season.
TJ Duckett now on 3rd and 1. Instead, it's Weaver, the fullback. Pretty good receiving fullback, and he fights his way inside the 20 to the 17. That's his 14th catch of the season.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. In this offense, you've got to be able to do a lot of things as a fullback. You've got to be able to block. We saw that earlier in the job that he did. And then you've also got to be able to catch. And they split him out, makes a good catch. Of course, he's replaced the guy this year in Max Strong, who was here for a long time, 15 seasons. And like what happens to a lot of these fullbacks, ultimately had to retire because of a neck injury.
Whistles prior to the snap.
False start. Left guard. Correction, left guard. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So they get the left guard, who is Floyd Womack. Porkchop Womack is out at left guard. Ray Willis is at right guard, and Steve Vallos is in at center for the injured Chris Spencer's got a bad back. And for Seattle, they started the year, they lost their guard Chris Gray, who had to retire with a bad back, and then Rob Sims started the season at right guard. He's on IR. First and 15, DeMarcus Ware. 13th of the season for DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah, you don't see this very often either. Walter Jones, the all-pro left tackle, is as good as there is in the league, and it's a good matchup. It wasn't here, however. DeMarcus Ware just able to run right by him, and Matt Hasselbeck really had no chance. You know, he's grown so accustomed, and rightfully so, to knowing that blind side, that back side to him is always protected. Walter Jones never receives help, or rarely receives help, but he could have used some on the last play.
2nd and 23, and a handoff is to Julius Jones, who takes it to the 26. And it's 3rd and long coming up for Seattle.
You know, even though Seattle has run the ball for the most part, you discussed the lineup changes along that offensive line and all the shuffling and things that have happened. But yet through it all, they've still been able to run the ball pretty good, whether that's Maurice Morris or Julius Jones. But I really think in this game, Joe, that if they're going to have any level of success and stay in this thing, it's going to be because of the arm of Matt Hasselbeck.
They'll have to show it off here on 3rd and 18. Has a pocket, throws underneath, incomplete for Deion Branch. Scandrick, the rookie, on coverage. And the field goal unit, Orlando Mare, will come on for Seattle.
Now you look at this route, and it was a miscommunication by Hasselbeck and Branch, and Branch is going to start to the outside, and you almost sense that Hasselbeck thought he was going to maybe come back underneath the ball that's behind him. But you know, watching these games with Seattle, they just have not been nearly as precise in the passing game as what they usually are.
44-yard try by Orlando Mare, and it's good to put Seattle on the scoreboard. And still a scowl on the face of Mike Holmgren on this Thanksgiving, upset with Womack, who was guilty of a false start, and then the sack with Walter Jones giving it up to DeMarcus Ware. We welcome you inside the broadcast booth here at Texas Stadium, and it's been kind of an odd year for Seattle. Not just the 2-9 record, but you think about the great run that Mike Holmgren has had up there. He's already said this is his final season in Seattle, to take at least a year off. And they already have a coach in waiting in Jim Mora.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, and I was surprised. Maybe a lot of people were, that Mike Holmgren came out and announced that this would be his last season, and then the fact that the organization then went ahead and announced, you know, who the replacement was going to be, which is a whole nother discussion in and of itself. But you know, as it relates to Mike Holmgren, you know, one of the really great guys in this league and has done so much, and this looks like it's going to end up being, you know, his worst season as a head coach. And that's not the way he intended this to happen this year, because coming into the year after the success he had last year, they win in the wild card round against Washington. They go on the road. They lose to Green Bay. But this was a team that really expected to contend coming into the year. And the injuries ultimately were the downfall.
Holmgren is the league's winningest active head coach. Been with Seattle since '99 after a very good run for the Green Bay Packers. Taking a knee is Isaiah Stanback. Jason Garrett, who is the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, had a Thanksgiving once that he will never forget. Starting for the injured Troy Aikman.
Close enough.
Against the Packers, he threw for 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, but loses to Brett Favre, who threw for 4 touchdowns, and the Packers won 42-31.
It was really one of the great Thanksgiving Day performances, you know, in Dallas Cowboy history. I don't think that's much of a stretch. He did not play well in the first half, but that second half, 30 minutes of football, he played about as well as any quarterback has.
Romo throws and completes to Terrell Owens. And Owens is out of bounds at the 46. Another big completion from Romo to T.O. This one good for 26 yards.
Well, Josh Wilson is up tight, and it looks like he's trying to get a jam, but he never really gets his hands on him, and it's just pitch and catch, as it's been throughout this first quarter, and pretty easy right now. I mean, they're not getting pressure on Romo. They're not getting much coverage on these receivers heading down the field, and Terrell Owens just picked up pretty much right where he left off last week.
Dallas is averaging 11 yards a play and making it look very easy. No pressure on Romo whatsoever, and Witten has another catch, and he's finally back into this offensive scheme. As you said, 4 straight games averaging 1 catch a game, but prior to that, he was easily Tony Romo's favorite target as we are through 1 quarter here at Texas Stadium. So we continue, as does this red-hot Dallas offense. Into the second we go. 14-3 Cowboys. Start of the second quarter. 14-3 Cowboys. This is a stadium in its final year that has not been kind to Mike Holmgren. On first down, Romo underneath Marion Barber, left alone, making moves. Another first down. 13 yards for Marion Barber, and Mike Holmgren is probably thinking, here we go again. Why? Because this has been a house of horrors for one of the best coaches in the history of the league. 1-7 at Dallas, at Texas Stadium. 0-3 in the playoffs, including losing the '95 NFC Championship here. And losing here on Thanksgiving 14-3, with Dallas marching again. Jason Witten. And Seattle's not covering anybody. Witten is down inside the 20 to the 19-yard line. 12 more yards on that play.
You know, they have a drill during the week in practice, and it's called 7-on-7. And the idea of that is it's just receivers and defensive backs without a pass rush. And it's really geared for the offense. And that's what this looks like right now. There's no pass rush on Romo. And everything that Dallas is doing and everything Dallas wants is at their disposal.
Cowboys have run 18 offensive plays, and they have 13 first downs. Middle of the field and broken up. What a good play by Deion Grant as he saved a touchdown to Jason Witten.
Jason Witten had a chance, and if Romo had been able to lay that ball just a little bit more, it would have gotten up over the hand there of Deion Grant. But you're right, a good play on his part. Deion Grant reads it, he breaks on it, and then is able to get out there and make a play on it.
It's got to be the neon shoelaces.
Or the neon gloves.
Like some out of Blue Man Group. 2nd and 10. Hand off to Barber, and he's brought down by Julian Peterson, who's coming on a blitz. Able to shift and make the play on Barber, a gain of 3.
We talked about it earlier, Joe, coming into this game, and just the talent level of the Seattle team. And I still think they're a really talented group, but I know when you go through a year like this, and 2-9, that with Holmgren leaving, Jim Morris stepping in as the head coach, he's going to have his ideas on players. He hasn't been there as long. He doesn't maybe have the emotional connection that Mike Holmgren had with a number of them. But, boy, you really go through an organization with a fine-tooth comb, and there'd be a lot of players, would be my guess, that won't be around after this year.
3rd down and 7. Quick throw, Patrick Creighton with a catch. Trufant cannot bring him to the ground. And Patrick Creighton fought his way for a first down. First and goal. So now you add Patrick Creighton to the mix, and it's Creighton, Terrell Owens, Jason Witten, now Roy Williams on the outside, Marion Barber carrying it or catching passes with Romo directing it all. That's why, you know, it has been surprising. Granted, with Romo out 3 games, that the Cowboys at times have struggled the way they have. This is as talented a team at the specialty positions as any in the league. Romo with all day. Touchdown, Witten. And Tony Romo can stand back there and just take his pick.
I don't know that I've ever seen a quarterback have more time. You know, the first play of the game, Tony Romo got hit and went to the ground. And since then, I don't think anybody's gotten within 3 yards of him. You know, but when you're able to stand in the pocket and look at the field the way he is right now, I don't care who you've got in the secondary, and I'm not suggesting that this is a great secondary, but you're not going to be able to cover him if you've got 5 Deion Sanders is back there.
21-3. Opening minute, second quarter, and the Dallas Cowboys are rolling.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Warner Brothers' new motion picture Yes Man, in theaters December 19th. By Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's. Let's build something together. By the all-new Dodge Ram. Never back down from a challenge. And by Miller Lite. Reach for the original Miller Lite. Great taste, less filling. Now that's a great thought.
With Big Star hanging right over the playing field here at Texas Stadium. Cowboys are lighting it up 21-3, and that'll be part of the halftime show here when the Jonas Brothers perform. Here's Josh Wilson from just outside the 5, and Wilson crosses the 25, and that's it. Alan Ball on the tackle. 20-yard return. Seattle Seahawk offense back to the field, down by 18. Called for rain all week on this Thanksgiving in Dallas. The weather couldn't be any better to be up above. An aerial coverage provided by DirecTV. Down below, it's been pretty much all Dallas. And the handoff is to Julius Jones, who goes nowhere. Thrown down by DeMarcus Ware.
We'll go back and take a look at the touchdown to Jason Witten and Deion Grant. He's going to be the safety here. And then you got Lofa Tatupu, who's going to get sucked in here because of the route of the receiver underneath. And you can see the big hole then that happens right there in the middle, which is where the ball was caught. You know, Deion Grant has got to do a better job of locking down on the tight end when you've got those kind of combinations within the routes.
2nd and 10 for Hasselbeck, who throws, has Ingram open and finds him for a first down. I think if we just go back for one other moment about that touchdown, the bigger story for Dallas seems to me to be the health of Tony Romo. He's getting a better grip on the football, throwing the ball with a lot more zip, and now a 9-day layoff with a big date coming up on the 7th of December at Pittsburgh here on Fox. He hopes to not have to deal with that splint anymore after today.
I'll tell you what, he keeps throwing it the way he has the last 2 weeks. I think I'd keep wearing it.
Here is Julius Jones. Picks up a yard. And Jason Hatcher. I guess that's a Thanksgiving Day dance.
That was
turkey.
Yeah, the chicken, the turkey. It was a bird. It was a bird. I know that.
It's the turducken. 2nd and 9.
You know, it's funny how things happen in this league, and we all are a product of what happens from week to week and how we react. Teams are no different. A couple weeks ago, the Dallas Cowboys, nobody thought they were going to be able to pull it together. Their quarterback was hurt. They weren't playing well. And a couple weeks later, now all of a sudden they're being anointed, you know, one of the better teams in the NFC again.
2nd down and 9, and Julius Jones picks up 4. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Joe. Mike Holmgren kind of skipped the football talk from his pregame meeting last night. Instead, he focused on, well, being thankful. Holmgren reminded the group that he is proud of the way they played and how hard they competed. He just wished everything would have been differently now. A couple of players I talked to said that Holmgren got really emotional, very choked up, and Holmgren said he did not see that coming, but he wanted to express to this team how proud he was of how he thinks they're able to compete in a very difficult situation.
3rd down and 5. Hasselbeck throws, and the pass is dropped by Corin Robinson. And so far, I mean, I know it's 21-3, but there have been receivers open. Hasselbeck has had chances. They've made good on a lot of those opportunities. They haven't really had many problems throwing the football so far. That one was just dropped by Corin Robinson.
Well, and that's been a problem. I mean, Corin Robinson came back at the start of the year, and he has turned his life around. And, you know, everybody's very proud of him for that. But on the field, he still has been susceptible to putting the ball on the ground.
Ryan hits it. Creighton will let it go over his head and into the end zone. 9.5 minutes left in this first half. We will take a break. Matt Hasselbeck trying to keep his sideline pumped up. 21-3 Cowboys, and they have it back. Prior to the game, Mike Holmgren with a little hug and a few words into the ear of Ken Hamlin, who spent 4 years with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I think that kind of supports what Pam Oliver was saying with his conversation and speech to the team. And, you know, talking with Matt Hasselbeck, he said that's how Mike has been all season long. You know, and yeah, it's been a 10-year ride for him in Seattle, and he's a very demanding head coach. But this year, it seems that he's been much more supportive and much more reflective than at any other time.
Tashard Choice is in the game at running back. This one for Williams. Wow. Perfect throw from Tony Romo. 40 yards to Roy Williams.
Well, they get up on Roy Williams as well, and you know, you got to be careful when you come up and you try to get a jam, and then when you miss. And we've seen that a couple times now. These are big physical receivers, and at times they do struggle getting off the jam because they are so upright and so tall, and they offer so much of their chest. But if you miss, both Roy Williams and Terrell Owens have the ability then to run by you, and you've got to be real careful with that technique.
On 1st down, another throw. Terrell Owens now fighting, and a penalty flag. Dealing with Marcus Trufant down the sideline, and it's pass interference against Trufant.
Yeah, and this time Marcus Trufant, he does actually a good job. He's in a perfect position all the way down the field. Gets the jam there. He's running with him up the sideline.
Number 23
and
defense.
It's right at the end.
A cutoff move. Automatic 1st down at the spot of the foul.
Right at the end with the right arm. They call that the arm bar, which is what the official was looking at when he threw the flag. You know, Marcus Trufant, he's had really an exceptional year. Has not had any interceptions, and when you just look at his numbers, they're not there. But a lot of teams just have not gone after him. But he's been the target of a few throws here in this game.
Already 15 of 23 plays in Seattle territory, up by 18. Marion Barber back in the game. A blitz coming from Tutupu. This one to the end zone, and it's nearly intercepted. Deion Grant got his hands on it. He has 2 interceptions on the season, and Grant could not pull it in.
And this is what happens when you're finally able then to get pressure on Romo. He has to get rid of the ball sooner than what he would like. He just throws it up. And a ball that should have been very easily intercepted by Deion Grant. You know, this is a defense that only has 5 interceptions on the season. You know, you get a chance to make a play, you've got to be able to make it, especially against an offense that's running along as well as what Dallas is.
For Romo, that's only the 3rd time he's been hit in this first half. 2nd and 10. Marion Barber nowhere to go, and big Rocky Bernard is in there to make the play.
He gave you a little of a sugar bear move there.
He did. He's gone neon also with the shoelace. And there's Jason Garrett, who's in charge of all of these weapons for the Dallas Cowboys. The high-priced offensive coordinator, and to some seemingly the coach in waiting here in Dallas, as we've talked so much about Jim Mora and his situation with Seattle.
Yeah, that's what it seems. And I got to tell you, I don't agree with the ability to name a head coach in waiting.
Certainly more to talk about with that. 3rd down and 12. I have a feeling we'll have time to get into it. Romo down the middle, and Witten stopped the pass out of his reach, and a field goal try will be forthcoming from Nick Folk.
I think the league, you know, they implemented the Rooney rules that made it mandatory that owners then interviewed minorities for head coaching positions. And all of a sudden what we've seen in Seattle, we've seen it in Indianapolis, although in Indianapolis they do have a minority head coach in waiting. To me, that circumvents the very spirit of what the Rooney rule was put in place to keep from having happen.
Folk hits it and drills it. He's been hot. 41 yards. 7.5 minutes on the clock left before we go to halftime, when the Jonas Brothers will be performing here in Dallas, in a big moment for us in the booth prior to today's game. It's 24-3.
I'm sorry, my signing still isn't very good. I learned a new sign to show you. Merry Christmas.
This Christmas at Kay, save 25% on Bulova and selected fine watches. That's just one more reason Kay is the #1 jewelry store in America.
Do you like it?
Every kiss begins with Kay.
It's one of our camera operators, Andy Mitchell, with his hello back home. There's Chevy. Pete Shalveris. Dave Thriller. Mario Zecca. We got a great crew and people that have been with us for a long, long time, and certainly with our producer Richie Zients and our director Artie Kemner even longer. Josh Wilson on the return, and a nice return up near the 30. Big game Sunday. We are excited to sit back and watch this one with the New York Giants and their upcoming matchup with Earth, Wind, and Fire against the Washington Redskins. They met on the Thursday to open the season, and now who would have thought that as we go into this weekend, you've got a 10-1 Giants team taking on a Washington team at 7-4, coached by first-year head coach and longtime Seattle Seahawk Jim Zorn. Hasselbeck throws and completes it to John Carlson, the rookie tight end, good for 9. And I know there's one guy out there who should be having a very good Thanksgiving, a chance to relax with family and friends, and that's Tom Coughlin, who's done an unbelievable job trying to get his team back to the Super Bowl. They look better now than they did at any point last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, this is a team that's just gotten better and better each week this year.
Julius Jones fights his way for a first down for Seattle.
You know, the other guy who I hope is at home getting a little rest tonight is Clinton Portis. You know, a guy who, in my opinion, could very easily end up as the league MVP. And, you know, in getting ready for this game and what he's, not only what he's done all season long, but think back to last week's game against the Seattle Seahawks and what he did in the fourth quarter. I mean, this guy takes an absolute pounding each and every week, and yet for the most part he shows up the next week and he does it all over again.
And he's usually playing when you say it, so it's worth saying if he's watching, he is one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
Hasselbeck is dragged down by Big Tank Johnson. A loss of 7 and the first sack of the year for the former Chicago Bear.
Yeah, and Steve Vallos, the first start of his career, as I said, there in the middle at center. He's finding out what the NFL game's all about, with Tank Johnson just being able to put a move on him one way and come back the other, and you know that's not an easy job for him. Chris Spencer, who has been their starter, not playing today, and all of a sudden Steve Vallos is expected to come in and do the job against one of the more talented nose tackles in the game.
And now more of a 4-man front for Dallas. On second down, the pass is complete. That's Deion Branch. And I'll say again, Hasselbeck's throwing the ball well, and there have been receivers open. But again, this week, as they've done the last 2 weeks, it's a Dallas defense that has clamped down on the running game, and then the scoreboard is almost forcing Matt Hasselbeck and the Seahawks to put it up.
Well, I'll give you an idea as to how bad this year has been in the 6 games that Matt Hasselbeck played coming into this one. Last week, he threw for 103 yards with a quarterback rating of 54, and it was his second best game of the year.
3rd down and 5. Hasselbeck in trouble again and sacked again. Brady James. And we've just unveiled a team-wide new sack dance on Thanksgiving by this defensive group, and we've seen it 3 times. DeMarcus Ware, Tank Johnson, and now Brady James.
Yeah, you see Brady James right in the middle, and it's a little bit of a delay, and then he comes right up the gap, and you got to be able to pass that off, and that's what happens when you have all these lineup changes that we talked about within that offensive line. It's just hard then to work in unison, and they've been unable to today.
Ryan hits it. Good punt. On a line, good spiral and out of bounds, and now a couple of players start to get into each other's faces, but cooler heads prevail. You talked about Clinton Portis. Here are some MVP candidates, and Drew Brees is certainly there. He's on pace right now to break Dan Marino's single season pass yardage record, and he's been doing that ever since he got to New Orleans. Kurt Warner could very well win his 3rd MVP, and we said last week that would strengthen his bid to become a Hall of Famer later on down the road. And then Clinton Portis, who has done everything and is now playing hurt, trying to help his 7-4 Washington Redskins team this weekend against the Giants.
Yeah, and I mean, all 3 of those guys obviously worthy candidates, and I think the world of Drew Brees. I mean, I think he's as good as anybody. He's a great leader for that team. I just find it hard to think that a team at 5-6, if they don't get a whole lot better down the stretch, it was a heck of a performance the other night. I don't know how he then can ultimately go on, no matter if he breaks Marino's record or not, be named the league MVP.
Here is Romo in trouble for one of the few times. Flips it for Roy Williams, incomplete. We saw the players get into it at the end of that punt, and it was Orlando Scandrick, number 32, who was in it with Jordan Babineau. And then really not much there. Dave Campo, the defensive backs coach, had to come over and corral his 21-year-old rookie out of Boise State. 5th round pick, and a guy who's gotten a lot of playing time, which then leads you to the next part of the discussion. And you can see Kevin Burnett getting involved as well with Scandrick, and it's Pac-Man Jones. Adam Jones will be back the next time we see the Cowboys on the 7th. Here's Jason Witten on 2nd down. Good for 5, dragged to the ground by Deion Grant. And Adam Jones is coming back. Jerry Jones will welcome him back. The Cowboys will accept him back, and he is down to his final straw.
Finally, yeah, we think. And you know, initially I'd say it surprised me that the Cowboys decided to bring him back, but then on the other hand, we've seen it a lot from Jerry Jones, and yet I think it's fair to say that these players, although they would say differently publicly, and it's understandable, I don't know that they're embracing Pac-Man Jones' return like a lot of people might think.
3rd down and 5, a toss to Barber, well played by Babineau. He had help from the other safety, Russell, and it will be the first punt of the day by Sam Paulescu. The other part of it is Terrence Newman's had a tough time staying healthy. They have a couple of rookies backing up. The Cowboys do, with Mike Jenkins, who's now hurt with a bad hamstring, and Orlando Scandrick, who we just showed you. They want Pac-Man Jones not only back, but they want him to play better than he played in the early part of the season. He didn't add much returning punts, and he was rather ordinary in coverage.
Yeah, he was bad returning punts, and he was not very good in coverage. I mean, he really didn't help them all.
Here is a fair catch by Forsett. And Justin Forsett takes it out across the 40. Julius Jones back on the field, and we get to know more.
I have a total of 6 brothers and sisters. 1 brother plays for the New York Jets. 5 sisters: Gwen, Beatrice, Thomas, Kenitris, Julius, Kanetta, Catrice. Me and my brother definitely know how it feels to take a cold shower and be the last ones in the bathroom.
And the laugh at the end of it, knowing that they're following their sisters into the bathroom. They wouldn't allow hot water left. Best starting field position for Julius's team, the Seahawks, down by 21. Hasselbeck floats it for Robinson, who makes the catch. Beautiful throw and maybe even a better catch. Working against Anthony Henry, good for 23 yards.
Yeah, what we're seeing from the Cowboys is they're coming up and they're challenging these wide receivers for Seattle. And they're saying you're going to have to beat us if you're going to get a chance to get the ball down the field. And one-on-one, that's the best you can hope for as a wide receiver. And Hasselbeck's able to lay that ball out in good concentration. Not an easy catch with Henry coming in on that at the end of the reception.
So now first down, and Julius Jones goes nowhere. This January, Fox once again brings you the greatest week in college football, beginning with the FedEx Orange Bowl, the Allstate Sugar Bowl, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, and the FedEx BCS National Championship game. It's college football's biggest games this January only here in high def on Fox. 2 weeks ago, this Dallas defense allowed Clinton Portis only 68 yards rushing. Last week, they shut down Frank Gore. Here's Carlson, the rookie tight end, down inside the 10. And any positive plays the Seahawks have been through the air. Seattle trying to get into the end zone for the first time today. 2-minute warning in Dallas. Seattle down 21. Visa halftime shows coming up with Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy. News from around the NFL, and we'll have the Jonas Brothers performance here at Texas Stadium. 1:53 left, and certainly a chance here to jump back in it for Seattle. 1st and 10 from just outside the 10. Hasselbeck's in trouble, and he throws it at the feet of Julius Jones. Big pressure by Anthony Spencer. Anthony Spencer, who's missed 4 games this year. First had a knee injury, then a hamstring issue, and he adds to the depth, stopping the run and rushing the quarterback.
Yeah, he really helps because then they're able to rest Greg Ellis and use him more as a pass rush specialist instead of an every down player.
Hasselbeck, despite the pressures, had a good half. 11 of 15 for 170 yards. And down he goes. DeMarcus Ware gets his second. And right now is only a half sack behind Joey Porter, who's had a career renaissance with the Dolphins, who leads the NFL with 14.5.
Well, DeMarcus Ware has really come into his own this year. You see, he's working against a great player in Walter Jones. And that's the second time now. He set him up. The first time we saw him on the sack, he went and used a speed move right around the outside. That time he started to the inside, got Walter Jones off balance, and then came around the outside and got the sack. And that's where DeMarcus Ware has really improved. This guy was a defensive end in college. They moved him to outside linebacker in the 3-4 scheme. He gets down in the defensive end position when he's rushing the passer on passing downs. But he has developed quite a repertoire of moves within his game, and that's made all the difference for him this year.
3rd down and 14, and the ball all the way back at the 15. A blitz. Seahawks can't pick it up. Hasselbeck sacked again, and the second for Brady James. And this offensive line, injury ravaged for Seattle, is getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, Brady James, he comes to the outside this time, and John Carlson, number 89, is the one who's responsible for picking him up. And he kind of does the same thing as what DeMarcus Ware had done on the previous play, and that is start him up the field, get him going that way, and then come underneath him flat to the quarterback. And Matt Hasselbeck, he just really hasn't had much of a chance. I mean, as you said, Joe, when he's had time, he's really thrown the ball well today.
38-yard try. That's now 5 Dallas Cowboys sacks. Brady James has 2. Tank Johnson 1. DeMarcus Ware has 2. Mara is 2 for 2. And it's 24-6.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bill and Mike in our truck.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Cheech and Frosty. There's Kevin.
Yes.
He's one of the long-lost Jonas brothers, Kevin. Minute 31 left. I know my daughters are watching, and I know your daughters are coming over to watch.
Yeah, they
the
sure
Jonas
are.
brothers.
They've had a chance to see the Jonas brothers before and had a chance to meet them. And I guess like every other 7-year-old daughter or 7-year-old girl around the country, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever the age is, they've got their pictures up in their rooms, and they can't wait for halftime.
I know. In fact, I even know a 39-year-old woman who enjoys watching them and thinks they're cute.
That's not
and
my
I'm
wife
married
you're
to her.
referring
No,
to, are you?
I'm referring to my own.
Okay.
The guys, by the way, they stopped by. They couldn't be nicer young men. Their dad was with them, and it's an impressive family.
It really is. They live right here in the Dallas area, and you know, as you said, it's nice when you've got young kids looking up to people that you want them to.
Mare drills it, and this is Stanback on the return. And a big return. Russell trying to slow him down, and Babineau brings down Stanback from behind. 58-yard return by Isaiah Stanback. Longest of the year for Stanback, and now with 1 timeout left and a minute 19 on the clock, a chance for more points.
Hey, you see the wedge, he got in behind it, and then he saw an opening to the left and just bounced it out to that side and then used his speed. A guy who's had his share of injuries as well here over the last couple of years, and finally getting on the field and being able to contribute some on special teams. Nice return.
Former collegiate quarterback turned him into a wide receiver. Hasn't had much of an impact there, but now trying to fill in for the rookie Felix Jones, who was doing a great job returning kicks. Backing up as he throws it to an open part of the field is Tony Romo. Yesterday, in an undisclosed location, we gave the Jonas brothers a sneak peek at the Galloping Gobbler.
Whoa, wow. That would look so good on our tour bus. How do we get that? Can I hold it?
Officer Pack, that was a little bit vicious. That was a hard hand smack from Officer Pack. Evidently Nick didn't know. You have to be 18 years old to touch the Gobbler, and there are the past winners. Emmett got it. Now penalty flag comes in against somebody on the Cowboys. Dre Bly, Julius Jones, who's in this game, Michael Vick, Romo.
Intentional grounding, number 9 offense. The quarterback was in the pocket. There was no receiver in the area. That penalty includes a loss of down.
We did an entire Jonas Brothers promotion before they threw this flag.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened. You know, I think this is a bad call. Yes, he's in the pocket, but he turned it loose thinking that the receiver was going to keep up the sideline there, Terrell Owens. You know, I go back to the job that Officer Pack does year in and year out. You know, he's been guarding that Gobbler for a long time, and I tell you, he's done a good job of it.
Really has. Also spends other parts of his week in a Village People tribute band in that outfit. And now whistles stop play, and John Perry will talk about this. Maybe that last call. What it does is the intentional grounding is a loss of down, and it backs the ball up to midfield.
The down is correct. Second down.
And it is second down, so they had an issue, but you lose the down on intentional grounding. So 2nd and 20 with a minute 14 left. This is the last thing that the Dallas Cowboys can have happen, is something to happen to Marion Barber.
I agree. Well, they've got a rookie in Tashard Choice is really their only other option at that position.
They have no depth there anymore. Here is pressure from Josh Wilson. Romo airs it out for T.O. Incomplete. And finally, Seattle starting to get a little pressure on Tony Romo.
Well, they're getting some pressure, but they're unable to get him to the ground, and that's where it gets dangerous for a defensive back. This is what happened last week on the big play to Terrell Owens against the 49ers. Nobody's able to get Romo on the ground, and then you got Brian Russell in coverage, and he was lost. I mean, if Romo had been able to get that ball anywhere close to Terrell Owens, it would have been a touchdown.
Now 3rd down and 20.
I mean, he's not the fastest guy, and that's the thing that's so impressive is, you know, I wouldn't even say he has great quickness, but he's extremely elusive and very difficult to get to the ground.
Here's Choice in for Barber, and he's not only way short of a 1st down, but Dallas is not in field goal range as Kelly Jennings forced him out. And Sam Polescu, the punter, will come on the field. Why we keep talking about this, and we shouldn't just assume that people know the story with Dallas. Dallas drafted Felix Jones, their first pick out of Arkansas, and he was off to a great start, averaging 8.9 yards per carry, had returned a kick for a touchdown against Philly, and seemingly every time he touched the ball, he made things happen. But he only ends up playing 5 games, and he is lost for the rest of the year with a torn ligament beneath his left big toe. There's Bobby Ingram calling for a fair catch and hauling it in at the 13-yard line. Well, this is going to be a big moment here coming up when the Jonas Brothers are on the stage down in the field for these two.
That's right. This is Alex and this is Jordan, and they are in the booth as promised to watch the Jonas Brothers. Y'all excited? Yeah. So this should be fun.
I'm excited.
We're going to see him. Yeah, we're going to see him.
Must be a lopsided game. So Jordan and Allie are ready, and the rest of the country with a specific demographic will be watching. And now Marion Barber has to leave the field, and they'll check on him in the dressing room. Just 52 seconds left in the half. And Julius Jones, who has had really one play that had an impact, and that was a fumble in the first possession of the game for Seattle, carries it for 3, and Seattle will have to run one more play and then let the half expire down by 18. Maurice Morris comes on, and we might see more of Maurice Morris in the second half.
I think we will. I mean, Holmgren likes going with the hot hand, and that has not been Julius Jones in the first half.
Play action, surprisingly. And a penalty flag comes in as the pass from Morris was incomplete. And a penalty flag back in the area of a hold.
Holding number 77 offense. That penalty's been declined. Result of the play.
Result of the play is it's 3rd down and 7, and Seattle, I would imagine, will just run out the rest of the clock. There's Mike Tatamir waving to family and friends on this Thanksgiving, and we continue to show Don Cornelli. We continue to show members of our crew working here at Texas Stadium away from home as Morris carries it, and that'll do it for the first half here in Dallas. And for the Cowboy offense, 266 yards. Cowboy defense, 5 sacks, and a turnover was forced. And now stopping the clock, the Dallas Cowboys, I guess, will spend their last time out and hope to get a block on the punt and get the ball back, or make something happen and try and get a field goal or something out of the ordinary to add to their 18-point lead.
Well, they're definitely going to overstack the line of scrimmage and see if they can't maybe block this.
So they put 9 seconds now on the clock, and they're going to force Seattle to execute a play. Remember, a fair catch. Let's say John Ryan hits a bad punt, and now Wade Phillips is trying to implore Patrick Creighton to move up. You get an untimed play if the clock were to expire here at the end of the half, although that would Be surprising. Patrick Gray won't move up.
No, he says they're going to hit it over my head.
He calls for the fair catch, and there's still 5 seconds left in the half.
Who was it that just tried that? Was that in the Arizona game, the Giants-Arizona last week?
Yeah, and it happened for Arizona, I believe, last year against St. Louis. They've done it the last 2 years. You get an untimed free kick. But
well,
that's not going to happen here in 5 seconds remaining. That would follow. That would follow the clock expiring and a fair catch. And Creighton's going, what do you mean move up? They're going to punt it over my head. And then he calls for the fair catch. So it's 5 seconds left, and it's kneel down time, it looks like. Yep. So at long last, the Visa halftime is right around the corner, which will include a performance from the Jonas Brothers. Halfway through it on Thanksgiving in Dallas, 24-6 Cowboys.
Hi, we're the Jonas Brothers, and you're watching the NFL on Fox. I'm waiting for you right now.
Seahawks need something to jump back in this game, down 24-6, and Seattle will get it to start the second half. Josh Wilson is waiting for it as Folk will kick it away. Nick Folk still does not have a touchback this season. And he still won't. Wilson gets it across the 20, stays in bounds to get a big hit. Brought down at the 24. Keith Davis, special teams ace for Dallas, downfield to make the stop. And here's Matt Hasselbeck, pretty good first half numbers wise, but he was under siege as Dallas got him for 5 sacks.
Yes, he was, and you're right. I mean, you look at that and you'd say, wow, he really had a heck of a first half throwing the football, and they didn't run the ball all that well. And then you look at what Dallas was able to do on the other side offensively, and then they're on pace right now for over 500 yards of offense.
Maurice Morris does start this second half at running back for Seattle, and a good catch by Deion Branch. Good for 9 yards, and it was a painful first half for a quarterback who has a bulging disc and nerve irritation in his back.
Yeah, and this is an offensive line, as we talked a little bit about there in that first half, that has done a good job. I mean, for the most part this year, they've done a decent job protecting him. I know the last 2 weeks he's not taken a lot of hits. He sure has today.
Here's the fullback Weaver, plows forward for a first down. Picked up 2. There's DeMarcus Ware, who has a couple of sacks in this game, and he gets up pointing and smiling at Matt Hasselbeck. And 2 of the 5 sacks belong to DeMarcus.
I tell you, I thought it was good in our conversation with Matt Hasselbeck about the fact that, he was the first guy. He said, hey, I got to look at myself. When I look at this season and the problems that we've had, I've not done a good enough job. I've not made throws that he typically makes. And I thought that was a great thing for him to say, not to be looking to place blame elsewhere.
Maurice Morris trying to get something going, takes it up to the 40. I'll tell you this, beyond that, and the play was stopped, Morris got it to the 40. What I liked him talking about was body language, and I think that is such an overlooked aspect to the position you played and played so well for so long. And Hasselbeck said, I think I've let my attitude toward a lot of things creep into my body language, and it sends a bad message to the rest of my team.
Well, I tell you, I think it's great that he recognizes that. Also, in the limited amount that I've been able to watch him this year, I thought that.
Here's a drop. Pretty good pass to Corin Robinson, who has a couple in this game.
I thought that he's done a great job of competing. I mean, I really have, because when you consider the fact that this team lost 8 receivers, and then with the shuffling along the offensive line, I got to tell you, I mean, as someone who played the position, as you said, and has endured some injuries at various times, that's frustrating. It's frustrating when and he hasn't been healthy, and we all understand that. But it's frustrating when you know that a lot of times, no matter what you're doing, there's not guys on the other end that are going to be able to make some plays for you, and yet I think he's done a great job of hanging in there.
3rd down and 6. Hasselbeck throws and finds Ingram, his favorite target. Maybe the numbers don't bear that out this year, but specifically Hasselbeck said we have got to get the ball back to Bobby Ingram on 3rd down, and he does here.
And you're able to do that when you get protection. I mean, pretty good pocket there for Matt Hasselbeck, and he doesn't require a great deal of time typically. I mean, he gets back and the ball comes out. And then Bobby Ingram, a nice route, a well-thrown ball. And Bobby Ingram, he's like a quarterback at the wide receiver position. He has a great feel for what the quarterback is expecting.
On 1st down, Hasselbeck doesn't want to dump it off to Maurice Morris. Now he does, and Morris makes a nice play. Stretched out for the catch and gained 6.
Now this drive right here, if Seattle, I mean, who really hasn't done a lot, especially defensively, and Dallas deserves credit for the job they've done in keeping Seattle from getting in the end zone. But if they're able to put together a drive here and get a touchdown, I mean, at least then they put some pressure back on Dallas, because so far in this game, you know, Dallas has not felt anything.
Last time we saw Marion Barber, the star running back for the Cowboys, was going into the dressing room to be looked at. Word is he was stepped on, and he will continue playing. Here is Morris, and there is no doubt that Morris, who had the 100-yard day last week against Washington, is the better option at running back here today.
Well, and I've been kind of surprised, to be honest with you. I mean, he backed up Sean Alexander there for so many years, and yet when he was given his opportunity, he really has been a good player. And he's very good inside. He's able to make people miss. Doesn't require a big hole. He's got great quickness. He's got good hands. And I was a little surprised. Of course, he got hurt early in the season, and that's a reoccurring theme when you're talking about any position for Seattle. But once he got healthy, I've been a little surprised that he hasn't just been the guy each and every week.
They give it to him here, and Morris on 1st down picks up a yard. Also, Julius Jones with a head injury that's being reported from the sideline, and his return is questionable. And right now, Maurice Morris has given this team a little jump start at the running back position, while Seattle tries to climb back in it on the scoreboard.
I tell you, the other part of this, Joe, is this Dallas defense, and not just in this game, but what they have done over the last month of the season, with the exception of the New York game. They've really played well.
Play action from Hasselbeck, and he hits his tight end, Carlson. What a catch, and he was able to hang on as he went to the ground and rolled down out of bounds.
And Matt Hasselbeck really likes John Carlson. I mean, here a 1st-year player, and did not get a lot of work with him because of the problems that Hasselbeck had with his back. But they have gotten on the same page in a hurry. In fact, he was saying that John Carlson is a guy who he would like to be playing with for a long, long time. He likes the tight end. He likes throwing to the tight end. They just really have not had a guy. Jeremy Stevens never turned out to be the player they'd hoped.
Morris goes nowhere. And Zach Thomas, the veteran inside linebacker, makes the play for Dallas. 2nd and goal.
And this is really the important part of the field here for Seattle. You know, another field goal, then in a lot of ways, this was just a wasted possession. But if they're able to come away with a touchdown, that'd go a long way, one, in tightening this game up, but then I think more importantly, just giving them a little more confidence that they can score when they get down here. Now, Dallas, as I was saying, they've been awfully good down here in the red zone for the last month or so.
Second and goal. Hasselbeck has it thrown back at him. Jay Ratliff. It isn't often, Troy, that you can call a nose guard in a 3-4 a playmaker, but Jay Ratliff is that.
No, you're right. And you know, usually their playmaking abilities are limited to holding up against a double team. And if the linebackers then are making plays, then that guy's doing his job. But Jay Ratliff has been special. I mean, other than DeMarcus Ware, I think he's been the best defensive player on their team.
3rd down and goal. Hasselbeck throws for Ingram, incomplete. And another missed chance in the red zone for Seattle.
Mike Holmgren, he hesitated for a moment as to whether or not he wanted to go for it on 4th down. Bobby Ingram there just could not get around Scandrick. You know, Hasselbeck threw that about the only place he could, but Bobby Ingram just not able to make the pass beyond Orlando Scandrick to come and make a play.
25-yard try by Mare, who is 3 for 3. And still instruction for Ingram, who's a 13-year pro out of Penn State. Another missed chance in the red zone for Seattle, down 24-9.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. By State Farm, proud sponsor of the NFL and the best day of the week. And by the 2009 Cadillac CTS.
24-9. The difference in this game is what's happened in the red zone for each offense. Seattle's been in the red zone 3 times. That's the 20-yard line and in, and they have no touchdowns. Dallas 3 for 3. And there's the scoring drive. 13-play drive. Good start to this second half. What Seattle needed, except they came up short, getting the 7 points. And Stanback, who has one big return in this game, takes a knee. We will come back, and Tony Romo and the Dallas offense will be on the field, up 24-9.
From the soldiers of the 4th Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood, Texas, we'd like to wish our fellow comrades in Iraq a happy Thanksgiving. Long knife! Happy Thanksgiving! Woo!
And that greeting from Fort Hood, Texas, about 2 hours away, the biggest military base in the country, 500 square miles, the most soldiers on it. So again, as we said in the first half, thinking of those overseas and serving this country as we plan a Thanksgiving in Dallas for the 36th time here at this stadium, Texas Stadium. The Cowboys, they started here at the Cotton Bowl, and they're into a new stadium next year. Romo on the run, hits Witten on the run out to the 40. And that combination has cranked it back up here today.
And a lot of teams have had success against Seattle with that type action. You get these linebackers who flow pretty fast, and you get them going one way, and then you come out the other side with the quarterback. And Witten, who had come all the way across the field, is able to get into that 15-yard range, and that's the void then in the zone.
1 catch last week for Witten against the 49ers. 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown in this one. 8th career day over 100. High snap corralled by Romo, who gets hit as he lets it go for Roy Williams. Forced out by Jennings, a gain of 13. Looking ahead to Sunday, a lot of important games. Starting at noon Eastern with our pregame show, you've got the Giants at Washington, Carolina at Green Bay, obviously a big one. Same for New Orleans at Tampa Bay, San Francisco at Buffalo. Buffalo is hanging in there, and Atlanta at San Diego is late. And you know that Atlanta is very much in the playoff picture in the NFC under first-year head coach Mike Smith. What a job he's done. Play action from Romo. Down the middle. Good coverage. Intercepted. Trufant. Romo tried to force that. Great coverage, and Marcus Trufant gets his first interception of the season.
Well, and you're going to see on the tail end of it, they've got 2 guys there. Terrell Owens doesn't think the ball's going to be thrown because there's 2 guys there in coverage. But a good play by Trufant, staying over the top.
His first, Seattle's 6th of the season.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, an American Revolution.
(24-9) as Seattle just got the interception from Marcus Trufant, and they'll start at their own 20. Down 24-9 as Hasselbeck's trying to set up a screen. There's just nothing there. Maurice Morris, the intended receiver. And these defensive players have carried out that Thanksgiving Day theme here today, celebrating. Mike Smith And then Matt Ryan has been outstanding. And Michael Turner finally getting a chance to step out of the shadow of LaDainian Tomlinson has been awesome for Atlanta.
He's been great. And they miss him in San Diego as well. They miss Michael Turner. I think it's had an impact on LaDainian Tomlinson's season this year also.
A struggling San Diego Chargers team as Bobby Ingram makes the catch. And Atlanta's one of the many teams that's kind of jumped up after a dismal year last year. The whole Michael Vick thing, they've put that behind them, and they're in contention for a playoff spot.
Well, and the great thing for Atlanta is they found a guy. I mean, Matt Ryan, like all these teams, when you get the guy you need at quarterback, now they can start building something, and they already have. And as we look at this season, they got New Orleans, they've got Tampa Bay, they've got Minnesota. I mean, they control really what's going to happen to them. They get a chance to play those teams that they're in contention with.
3rd down and 6. More pressure and another for DeMarcus Ware. His 3rd.
Well, DeMarcus Ware figured he had a couple sacks over there on the offense's right. This time he'll come over and work over on Sean Locklear. He pile drives on him, and he has to get off him. Locklear does because of Ken Hamlin on the blitz as well, which freed up DeMarcus Ware. I think I'd stay on DeMarcus and let Hamlin take his chances.
DeMarcus Ware now leads the NFL in sacks with 15. Half better than Joey Porter. He will play against the Rams this Sunday for Miami as Patrick Creighton is wrestled down by Lance Laurie. A 6-yard return. Dallas will have it at their own 48, up 24-9. Tony Romo started this game red hot, 11 of 13, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. Since 5 for 11, 83 yards in the interception to Trufant. From their own 48 with 6:48 left in the 3rd. Up by 15. Romo under pressure finds Witten. And Witten is brought down by Deion Grant. And Deion Grant will go to sleep tonight at some point whenever Seattle, the team, gets back home. And he will have Jason Witten running through his mind. He has seen plenty of number 82 here today.
Well, good for him. He's got a lot of company in that regard throughout this season. Jason Witten, just a terrific player for this team. A tough guy, a good blocker, and a great great receiver, that is.
Yeah, it's almost unfair to put him in the tight end category, and he does all that too, but he's every bit as impactful as a good wide receiver. 2nd and 8. Romo throws, gets smacked, and the pass is dropped by Patrick Creighton. Pressure by Baraka Atkins, who's a 2nd-year player, and Tony Romo got hit just after he let it go.
Well, they've been able to get a little bit more pressure on him, in the second half, towards the end of the first half. Baraka Atkins, one of those guys who is having to play because of the other guys that are down, and a ball that Patrick Creighton certainly could have caught.
It's 3rd down and 8. Romo spins out of trouble and somehow finds Creighton, who's short of a 1st down. That's the essence of Tony Romo, though, and what he does maybe better than any quarterback in the NFL right now, and that is get out of trouble, slide, buy a little time, and then find somewhere to go with the football.
Yeah, he's really got an uncanny ability. This guy's a heck of a basketball player as well, and you think that, well, maybe some of the time out on the basketball floor has helped him in that regard. And he's a hard guy to get to the ground. We see week in and week out when teams have free rushers on him, and yet they're unable to tackle him.
3rd punt for Paulescu. Hangs it high. Good punt. Forsett waiting for it, hauls it in. A penalty flag is laying back at the 50. Adam Jones, Pac-Man Jones, will be back active. He practiced this week, and he will be active when the Cowboys go to Pittsburgh for a date with the Steelers on December 7th. And let's see if Mike Holmgren wants to tack on a hold at the end or a re-kick.
Holding number 91 of the kicking team. Reverse takedown. Seattle has elected 10-yard penalty and re-kick.
The reverse takedown off the turnbuckle for LP Ladouceur.
You don't get that call very often.
It's giving him the business.
I saw Red cashing a little earlier today before the game.
That great first down call. He's the long snapper, the guy in the middle there, 91, who there's the reverse takedown for 2 points. Will Heller. And Ladouceur saying, what do you want me to do? That's got to be a fun job, huh? Long snapping on punts.
Yeah, snap it and duck. It's probably better on punts than what it is on field goals.
Snap and duck. Forsett trying to make a move, tripped up, and a nice job by Alan Ball as Forsett goes down at the 14. Good coverage by Alan Ball downfield. Seattle has it down 15. There are the guys in charge of our cable cam. Vinny and Spike and Mike and Ish. Hasselbeck throws over the middle and it's incomplete. Deion Branch, the intended receiver. This seems like a blowout, but a Seattle touchdown and the extra point would make this a one-possession game. So Seattle defensively has figured out enough to slow down the Cowboys offense, and at least Seattle is still in this ball game.
Yeah, the way this game started with Dallas going right down the field a couple times and putting 2 quick scores up on the board, Seattle defensively has been able to slow them down just a little, and that's a result of just being able to get after Romo in the pocket.
2nd and 10, and Maurice Morris has nowhere to go with Ratliff making the play. And a loss of 2. And he has worked over the second-year center, Steve Vallos, making his first start.
Well, that's kind of the way it's been all year long for Seattle. I mean, they kind of get something going. They think they might have a chance to get a drive, and then they have a negative play, or they have a drop ball, or they have a penalty, and that's indicative of teams that are struggling. And as Mike Holmgren was telling us yesterday, this down right here, 3rd down, has been a real problem, and they've not been any better here in this game.
31% for the season are the Seahawks on 3rd down. Hasselbeck has no chance. And then he gets shoved once he gets out of bounds. Had the hands on him from Brady James before going out of bounds, so no penalty flag. It's a 5-yard run for Hasselbeck, and it's 4th down for Seattle.
Well, and you can tell that Matt is very frustrated, and you know, you talked about it a little bit earlier, Joe. I mean, as much as you want to have good body language, when you're getting hit as often as what he is, and you're not able to find open guys, it's hard.
His body's about to say timeout.
That is not fun.
Ryan hits it. Good high hanging punt. Patrick Creighton on the return. Doing everything he can. And after all that, pretty good return by Creighton. Laurie on the tackle, a 10-yard return for Patrick. And we keep talking and referring to the schedule in December for the Cowboys. We will be there on the 7th. Big late game at Pittsburgh against the Steelers. Then home games against the New York Giants and the Baltimore Ravens before finishing the season in Philadelphia against Donovan McNabb or Kevin Cobb or whoever for the Eagles.
Well, it's a tough schedule, no doubt, and I think that we'll find out at least how difficult that last game is going to be based on how the Eagles play against the Cardinals tonight.
And you see that record. It's been a dismal month. December has for this Dallas Cowboy franchise since '03. And in particular, as Marion Barber carries it for 4 yards over the right side, Tony Romo is just a game over the 500 mark, and his numbers are not very good in December. And then you know what he's done in his 2 cracks at it in the postseason. Not just the drop snap on the field goal try up in Seattle, but last year with the playoffs ending for Dallas on an interception in the end zone and a loss to the Giants. 2nd and 6. And Romo buys more time and then throws for Tashard Choice, who wasn't looking for it. Pressure by Josh Wilson. And we mentioned Philadelphia and the Arizona Cardinals. They will end up hooking up tonight in Philadelphia, and the Cardinals are a win away from clinching their first division since 1975 when they were in St. Louis.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, you know, whether it's tonight or next week or whenever. But they are going to win the division. They're going to be going into the playoffs, and now it's just a matter of where they're going to be seated. And I think people are still a little skeptical on Arizona, you know, after the loss that they had last week against the Giants, and you know, recently they've been able to beat up a lot of the teams there within their own division.
Penalty flag on 3rd and 6, and Romo for Owens. What a catch! One of his best of the year. A flag is down as Owens makes a spinning one-handed catch for 33 yards. But we'll check the flag.
Well, a really good catch. You see here the body control coming back, one-handed, is able to pull it in.
Pass. Illegal use of hands. Hands to the face. 26 defense. That penalty will be declined. The result of the play is a catch. 1st and 10. Dallas.
Troy, they always talk about his drops. How about this? Spinning and with his left hand keeping the play alive for the catch.
Well, you talked a little bit earlier about the number of playmakers that are on the field for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, it's only a problem when they're not playing well. And that's when you hear, well, we got Owens, we got Roy Williams now, we got Witten, we got Marion Barber. How do we get the ball to all these people? But when they're going good, I mean, it's a good thing. And I can tell you that from a quarterback's perspective, you've never one time heard Tony Romo say, yeah, it's really tough trying to keep everybody happy. That's a nice problem to have.
And it's fun to watch. Unless today you're in a Seattle uniform. Touchdown, Owens. Tony Romo skipping around down there like he's on the playground, picking apart this defense again for another touchdown throw, his 3rd.
I think he is on the playground. This time they put Julian Peterson on him to try to jam him up. He can't do a jam either. You know, they've tried a number of guys trying to get him jammed up at the line of scrimmage and keep him from having free releases. And no one's been able to do it.
Every article that was written about the day Terrell Owens had last week, his 213 yards against San Francisco, said, I can't believe Mike Singletary didn't have his cornerbacks come up and press Terrell Owens. He's not good in press coverage. That won't happen again. Well, the Seahawks have tried to do that a number of times here today, and Owens has been able to get around the press coverage and then end up down the field making a play.
Yeah, I don't think there's a hard and fast way to play Terrell Owens. I think you've got to look at your own personnel, as San Francisco did a week ago and as Seattle is doing here today, and then try to figure out, okay, within the confines of what we have, how do we try to slow him down? And I think if you have the right type of guys, I think it is wise to try to keep him from getting off the line of scrimmage clean. But as we've seen throughout this game, if you're unable to do that, now you've got a guy who runs awfully well, even at his age, who's putting a lot of pressure on secondary players, and those guys are not good cover guys. And so the advantage is always then in the favor of Terrell Owens.
Julian Peterson couldn't slow him down. That didn't work. And Terrell Owens now with career touchdown number 139. He's only 6 behind Marcus Allen, who's number 3 on the all-time list. 32 of them have come on the receiving end of a pass from Tony Romo. That's the best combo since 2006. Here is Josh Wilson out to the 25. Trey Battle, another tackle. Big day for DeMarcus Ware, 3 sacks, and let's learn more about number 94.
Booyaka, booyaka. Bob Marley, biggest fan right here, baby. Chicken's my favorite. You can boil it, fry it, saute it. It's all good. I was the first person to graduate from college, and you know, it's a big thing for my family. Da, na, 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 na. Let me get this right. First one to do it.
He's got an electric smile and is just a wonderful guy.
You know, it's nice when we're able to do those type of pieces and give the fans a little insight to the personality of some of these players. He's a wonderful guy.
Little pump fake from Hasselbeck, and the pass for Branch incomplete as Henry got his hands on Branch and broke it up.
I want to go back to that touchdown there to Terrell Owens, and I didn't see a safety helping Julian Peterson in coverage. I can't imagine that they would be asking Peterson to cover him one-on-one without any help, but yet there's nobody in the picture. Deion Grant comes over late. I mean, it's one thing to put Julian Peterson on him to jam him, but then give some help over the top. But to think that Julian Peterson can cover Terrell Owens, now you are really reaching.
2nd and 10 for Seattle. Underneath, it's Maurice Morris, who has enough for a Seattle first down before Brady James taps him.
You know, I want to go back to what you said a little bit earlier, Joe, about what has happened in December for the Dallas Cowboys. And I really believe this, that no matter how good a regular season you have with this organization, because they have had some success here in recent years, that when you do get into the months of December, knowing what's happened in previous years, pressure starts to build, even when you're playing well. I mean, this team's playing well right now, but pressure's building because of the expectations moving into next month.
Ask the Cubs about that.
Yeah, that's a great example. And I think a lot of times, you know, fans will talk about pressure, or media will talk about pressure and ask those types of questions, and as players, you know, you never really get the whole story, or you never really get an honest answer. And so they would never acknowledge that. Wade Phillips would certainly never acknowledge that. But, you know, it doesn't matter how well they're playing right now. Jerry Jones expects this team to be playing well in December, but more importantly, he expects them to be playing really good in January.
2nd down and 5, and it's a false start against Seattle.
False start. Number 85 offense. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, Marion Barber, as we spoke about earlier, had his foot stepped on earlier in the game just a few minutes ago, or just right now, actually. They're taking Barber in. They want to take a better look at his foot. He has they want to take a better look at his foot. They're going to x-ray, actually, the pinky toe on his right foot. Back to you.
Another bad pinky here in Dallas, whether it was the pinky on the hand of Tony Romo or the little toe on the foot of Marion Barber, who is definitely in the category of irreplaceable. And this won't make Matt Hasselbeck proud. A delay of game.
Yeah, he told us as much just yesterday.
Play clock expired.
There is no foul for delay of game. Timeout, Dallas.
So somebody on the defense or on the sideline called timeout, and that avoids a delay of game call because the play clock had expired on Matt Hasselbeck, who said that's all on me. If that happens, he said, that's embarrassing. And I know pro athletes don't like that word very often, but he said it is, and it happened. But somebody on Dallas's side called a timeout.
And even though this was not the case here, Matt Hasselbeck's right. I mean, anytime I see, now sometimes if it's 3rd and long and the clock's running down, you just go ahead and accept the delay of game. No point then in calling a timeout. But I've always felt, yes, that if there's delay of games that are happening, it's on the quarterback.
2nd and 10. 27 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. And the pass is behind Ingram, and he had Brady James, inside linebacker, on his back. Good coverage. 3rd and 10.
Brady James, I think he's a really special player. We talked about DeMarcus Ware. We ran the piece there where you get a chance to see what he's all about. Brady James is in that same category, and there's a group of players that were brought in during the time that Bill Parcells was the head coach, and not only are they good football players, but they're great character guys.
Third down and 10. There was a hold up front that Locklear just got away with, and the pass broken up by Terrence Newman. And now DeMarcus Ware is slow to get up. In fact, he isn't getting up. Let's take a look and see what happened.
We'll see if we can see exactly what it was that happened. And Walter Jones, and he came in, and if he landed funny, or we saw him lose his balance and go to the ground, if maybe the injury occurred at that time when he was trying to slip Leonard Weaver.
The left knee, it looked like, in that last awkward step, kind of buckled underneath him, and they hold their breath here in Dallas while their big playmaker on defense gets attention on the field. 3 sacks today for the man on the ground. Two jarring pictures for the Cowboys and their fans. Basically back-to-back plays with Marion Barber leaving, and then look at the left knee / ankle of DeMarcus Ware on that play. Got up and walked off. Back tried to jog off, and now he's on the sideline getting attention as Ryan, I would say, has been impressive here today. A guy they picked up, a free agent, Canadian born, and he replaced Ryan Plaquemire, who's now with Washington. And there's the attention for DeMarcus Ware.
Well, I tell you, Joe, that yeah, he was walking off, and you're right. I mean, he even tried to jog. I've learned from a lot of years that we saw the hyperextension there of the left knee, but the knee's a funny thing. I mean, I've seen guys that have gone on and played like 5 plays after a pretty significant injury, and then they get to the sidelines and get it checked out, go in the next day, and they find out that they've got a complete reconstruction on their hands. And I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm saying that you can't read in with the knee when you see a guy walk off the field.
8 seconds left in the third quarter. Dallas up 31-9, and now Tashard Choice will get his steady diet of action here on Thanksgiving as he has replaced Marion Barber. We go into the final quarter here in Dallas, Texas Stadium. Cowboys looking good on the scoreboard, not so good on the sideline with Ware and Barber.
Well, what do you think? Well, there was a safety for the San Francisco 49ers back in the day named Merton Hanks, who used to do a move just like that every time he intercepted a pass from me. I used to hate that move.
Now the Cowboys are all doing it defensively when they make plays. That was Carlos Polk, who's been a big part of the special teams here, who started that. Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
And Joe, while DeMarcus Ware was on the bench, I saw him trying to flex his right knee. Trainers have applied a big ice pack. The early word on Ware is he suffered a knee sprain. Ware will not return. Back to you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pam. They're looking at that knee over on the sideline, and as you said, you can never tell. And it's a left knee that's up, left leg that's up on that bench. And again, it could very well go down as a win for the record and on the scoreboard, but part of it would feel like a loss if they walk out of this day, the Cowboys, without DeMarcus Ware and Marion Barber, who's got a problem with his toe, who's in the dressing room. Penalty flag comes in as Marion Barber's replacement, Tashard Choice, carries it for 13 yards.
Holding. Number 80 offense. 10-yard penalty. First down.
One thing, by the way, Troy, that we need to clear up, because we're going to have to see Jason Garrett when we get ready for the December 7th game at Pittsburgh. When Garrett came in for you and had that big day, we had the graphic, and I said Dallas lost. Dallas won that game 42-31, and Jason brought the team back from a 17-3 deficit to get that win over the Green Bay Packers. And Mike Holmgren, you didn't stop me. Were you watching that game or what?
Yeah, I mean, that just tells you I wasn't paying attention to you, because I was at that game. I know that they won, or we won.
You can say we for that period of your life. It's okay. You freak out on me. 1st and 18. Tashard Choice Here's the other part. Let's say something's wrong with Barber, and for the Cowboys, they have to hope against hope that that's not the case. But they've already lost Felix Jones. Tashard Choice, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Georgia Tech, is really it. They have no other backups, and you think about a guy like Sean Alexander who's out there, or somebody else who might eventually be brought in here to Dallas.
Yeah, now I know they like Tashard Choice and whether or not he could carry the load. He is a lot like Marion Barber. He's not an overly fast guy, very tough, loves to play the game. I mean, all those things you really like. But, you know, for a team with Super Bowl aspirations, that's a lot to ask from a rookie running back.
2nd and 11. Good job by Choice to pick up Julian Peterson, and then Martellus Bennett makes the catch. The rookie made a good block on Julian Peterson.
Yeah, and this is what normally is the thing that keeps guys from being able to play as young running backs in the league. I mean, a really good job there on Julian Peterson, one of the better pass rushers in the game. And then Martellus Bennett. This guy's a special player, and he's only going to get better. You know, he was a guy who had an opportunity and worked out for about 6 or 7 NBA teams coming out of high school, and had a chance to go and play for North Carolina or Kansas or Duke, and he decided to play football. But they don't recruit slugs to those universities to play basketball for them.
He went to A&M and played football. As Choice gets 9, and then you talked to him before the game, and he said, well, you know, he's a big guy. He's grown into a 6'6", 265-pound man. But he said, well, what were you? He said, I could. Well, you tell.
Well, he was a guard, and I asked him if he could shoot the 3, and he said he could. And I said, how about drive to the hoop? And he said, I can do anything you want. And I wasn't going to argue with him. I mean, as you said, he's a big man. Now, what's interesting is his older brother is playing tonight defensive end for Texas A&M against the Texas Longhorns.
2nd down and 1. Troy's right. It is his older brother. Martellus Bennett's just 21 years old. Here is Tashard Choice having a nice Thanksgiving down inside the 35 to the 31. 26-yard run by Choice. That's his longest in the NFL.
Well, I think Tashard Choice is going to make a little statement of his own and say, well, maybe I can't carry the load if Marion Barber ever gets hurt and isn't able to play. I mean, he's getting a chance, and he's getting that chance, one, because they don't want to see Marion Barber have any further injury, and then the fact that there just is nobody else, as we've discussed. But a good job. You can see right there, he doesn't have the breakaway speed, but good vision and a good job of getting out on the edge.
First down at the 31-yard line. Choice again. They got to think about preserving Choice as Tashard picks up 7. But Tashard Choice will take anything he can get. He came into this game with only 18 carries all year.
Well, the offensive line right now doing a pretty good job of getting some push. You're going to take a look at that interior offensive line. Montre Holland, who we talked about, is getting his chance to play. You see him coming up to the 2nd level and clearing out a hole. And, you know, disappointing that Kyle Kozar is not healthy, but Hudson Houck doing a good job of getting Montre Holland prepared to come out here and play this game today and play well.
This is his first start, and you get the feeling it will not be his last. 2nd and 3, and Tashard Choice gets back to the line of scrimmage. Holland is only with the Cowboys because he showed up at camp with the Denver Broncos way overweight, and Mike Shanahan traded him away. The Cowboys pick him up. He started all 16 games a year ago for the Denver Broncos, so it's not like a guy who hasn't played, and he's really filled in well. Corey Proctor did struggle at times filling in for Kyle Kozar.
Yeah, I mean, Montre Holland has a resume, and it's a pretty good one. And Corey Proctor did struggle. And I really think that as a result of that, I'm not making excuses for Flozell Adams, but I think it affected Flozell's play also. And it's too early to tell, but maybe there will be a comfort level with Montre Holland in there at left guard.
Romo throws it away. He was under pressure and ends up on his back. It was Brandon Mebane who was up the gut and had inside pressure on Tony Romo, and so now a field goal try by Nick Folk. who's 1 for 1, hit from 41 yards earlier.
And I've got to believe that if Nick Folk makes this, or even if he doesn't, if Seattle gets the ball and takes any kind of time off the clock, that'll be the last we see of Tony Romo as well.
Well, I tell you this, every time we show that luxury box that's owned by and operated by Jerry Jones, his son Steven is in there. There's some stress up there right now with what's happened injury-wise with 2 of the big stars here with Dallas.
Well, it's the one thing. I mean, we look at Seattle and what it's meant to them this year with all the injuries, and you can become a pretty average team minus 2 or 3 key guys.
Timeout Dallas before the 42-yard try.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Visa. No matter how you prepare for game day, Visa is the way to go. By the all-new 09 F-150. It's not just a new truck, it's a new F-150. And by Bud Light, the difference is drinkability.
Aerial coverage is provided by DirecTV. Dallas took a timeout. And now the 42-yard try by Nick Folk. With 8:59 to go. Clock winds a few seconds, and Folk, who was 4 for 4 last week, all of them over 40 yards, is 2 for 2 today. 3 more points for Dallas, up 34-9. There's Joe Stevens.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Gene and Keith in our tape room. Greg Litchie building toward the climax of Artie Kemner talking to the world, our director. Richie Zients staring at him while he does it. Our producer. This is from inside the 10 for Set. And for Set with a hurdle and a hit from Justin Rogers. So Forsett with the return, played high school at Arlington Grace Prep. So he's back home on a Thanksgiving. Got that hit. Seattle has it, down 34-9. .36th and final time for the Thanksgiving game here at Texas Stadium. And Dallas having fun as Corin Robinson makes the catch and darts out of bounds for the 14-yard gain from Matt Hasselbeck. And we continue taking you around our crew, Victor and Derek.
Say like hi mom, hi dad.
Lars, Nick, Mookie, and Paul.
Hi mom.
Doing their great job week after week, game after game. 8.5 minutes to go. First down for Seattle.
Some of these guys are a little camera shy, aren't they?
There's one who isn't.
No, you got that. They'll know who it is, too.
Here is Julius Jones, who had the early fumble. And he has another one. The ball ended up out of bounds, and Dallas never did control it before it ended up out of bounds, and that's 2 fumbles in the game.
No, you jinxed him, Joe. You called it right before the ball came out.
I think Brady James may have knocked it out. Let's take a look. Brady James is the one with his left hand.
Tell you, Brady James having a heck of a ball game here today. Had a couple sacks and then stripping Julius Jones here, and then a number of other plays along the way.
You know who else having a heck of a ball game? Dave Schwalbe, my spotter over here.
Yeah,
Ed Sfida,
you know,
guy.
Those are the guys that come prepared to play every week.
You're right. Hasselbeck steps up down the middle and intercepted by Terrence Newman. Trying to force it, and Hasselbeck gives one to Dallas. And there's a guy with a bad groin who shows off his vertical leaping ability, Terrence Newman.
Yeah, he's not 100% either. And Matt Hasselbeck, you're right, Joe. I mean, when you get into a game at this stage and you're just trying to make a play, the competitor in him is trying to give his guy a chance and see if maybe they can't somehow, as improbable as it may be. And Holmgren didn't care for that at all.
I don't care what you say. And by the way, they did not say that Newman controlled the ball in the end zone. He controlled it at the 2. That's where they'll mark it. You don't get progress if both feet come down before you get in. So second interception for Terrence Newman. Had the big one at Washington a couple of weeks ago. But it's got to kill Mike Holmgren that this is his swan song with Seattle.
I agree, and that was a great shot of Mike Holmgren in a game that really is over. And you talk about a competitive guy and a much more focused, driven guy, I think, than what his public image would lead you to believe when you just see shots of him on the sidelines.
Tashard Choice picks up 2. Mike Holmgren has guided this franchise 5 straight years into the postseason. He's the league's winningest active coach at 159-117. That's his record. He is off to his worst start record-wise, and it will continue now since 1992. The offensive numbers are just staggering, and the reason is because of the injuries on offense. But he told us, you know, I'm pretty well resigned to the fact that I'm going to take the year off next year, see how I react to it, and then maybe get back in, or if I enjoy it too much, ride my motorcycle, hang out at the beach, and forget it.
Well, as competitive as he is, and from what we just saw in that last shot, he'll be back in the game of football. You know, this is going to leave a really bad taste in his mouth, and football's where he belongs. I mean, he is just a wonderful, wonderful coach, a wonderful guy, and he's always thought of himself as a teacher more than a coach. I mean, his first 10 years of coaching were at the high school level. And he's done a great job for this organization. Never had a losing season in 7 years there with the Green Bay Packers. And you kind of wonder, Joe, where this organization's going under Jim Mora. I mean, this team has been about offense, and really good offense for the most part. And it seems that may change. You got coaches that don't know if they're going to be back, assistant coaches, that is. I think this organization's going to take a major overhaul. And I'm not so sure that's the right thing. I think he's built something here that can continue.
Timeout, Dallas. 6:22 left here at Texas Stadium. Our terrific
Thanksgiving, everybody.
audio department. I'm mesmerized by the eyes of Mike Steve Pack and Bentley and Rich Gross and Fish, Mark Fasori. There's Larry and Fred Aldis, Uncle Fred Aldis, our audio man, audio genius in the truck. 3rd down and 6, and the pass dropped by Terrell Owens. Brings up 4th down. Barry Strumpf, by the way, is also part of our crew, was not in that picture with Officer Steve Pack and Rich and Bentley and Fish. And my thanks to Steve Horn. It's like we're saying goodbye forever, but Steve Horn on this Thanksgiving, who keeps me honest all year, baseball and football.
Yeah, we are doing a game next week, right?
I think. No, we're not. Well, not this weekend, but next week, December 7th at Pittsburgh. Should be a fun game with the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as Forsett penalty flag comes in, and Forsett took it to the 45 of Dallas. Well, there's a young man who grew up in this area who has the thrill of coming back and playing at Texas Stadium on Thanksgiving.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 59, return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st and 10.
And again, Troy, we already showed this. A lot of good games on Sunday, not the least of which the Giants in Washington. Carolina, Green Bay, playoff implications. Same for New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Buffalo in the AFC hanging in. Atlanta at San Diego, and Atlanta's right there in the wild card chase.
Yeah, and you know that these Cowboys will be sitting home on Sunday watching the Giants and Redskins and pulling for the New York Giants.
There's our crew up here in the booth with Ed Sfida, Philadelphia zone, and Staten Island zone, Dave Schwabe. Hasselbeck underneath hits Maurice Morris, who picks up 6, brought down by Anthony Spencer.
You know, Joe, I want to go back to this whole Jim Mora, Mike Holmgren thing. And, you know, in talking with Matt Hasselbeck, you know, I asked him, hey, was there any input on your part? And he says no. And I said, well, do you know the question? He says no, but no input on my part. They never asked me for my input.
He takes another seat, another sack, and it's Greg Ellis.
Which is probably not entirely true, but I had been led to believe that Mike Holmgren had kind of been the guy who maybe selected Mora as his successor. And that was not the case. You know, the organization had made a decision that this was going to be Mike Holmgren's last year. I guess Mike made that decision, but then they had determined going into this year that Jim Mora would be the guy, and that announcement was made. And I'm not sure it's what Mike Holmgren really wanted to have happen as far as an announcement coming into the year.
Hasselbeck is ready to launch, and instead he comes down underneath the Carlson, the rookie tight end. Well, the story broke around the Pro Bowl time, and once the story broke and word got out that Jim Mora was next in line, then the Seattle Seahawks hand was forced that they had to basically make that announcement, and they had to come out and say, okay, yes, here is the situation. And the story broke. I believe Jay Glazer is the one who got the story.
Well, I think that, and the fact that a lot of assistant coaches are in their last year of coaching, and they were unsure as to what their future was. And they're going to have opportunities, or need to have opportunities, to go elsewhere.
Ryan hits it into the end zone. Let's take a trip through our own Galloping Gobbler Hall of Fame, the award we will hand out to that player we deem worthy. At the end of the day, Emmitt Smith, the great Emmitt Smith, Dre Bly, who was, I think, the most touched by receiving it, Julius Jones, Tony Romo, who's trying to go 3-0 and will go 3-0. Thanksgiving Day starts. Brett Favre, who's now guiding the New York Jets to the top of the division in the AFC East, and their remarkable story. And Tony Romo's been doing a lot of that all day, smiling, and it's time to try and run some of the time off the clock, and that means more to Tashard Choice. That's got to be a good sign that DeMarcus Ware is still in uniform and walking around okay.
No doubt.
Marion Barber has not been seen.
False start, number 82 offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Barber hasn't been seen since early in this second half, and the word was they were going to x-ray his foot, bothered by a problem with his little toe. So the toe for Barber and the knee for DeMarcus Ware. Ware is at least still out there on the field. And a guy who's definitely worthy, by the way, of winning the Gobbler Award, who with his 3 sacks on the day, now leading the NFL with 15. Here is Choice. I know I said this earlier, but the Cowboys also need to preserve this guy. There is that last line of defense, so to speak, of the running back position. After him, you've got Deion Anderson, the fullback, who's carried the ball 1 time, and they have no other running backs.
Well, I'll tell you that I know while I was playing, this organization really got spoiled in a lot of ways. One, because there was a pretty great player in Emmitt Smith that was carrying the football, but then the other part of it was we never really had a backup to him either, and we just relied on the fact that he would stay healthy, and he was able to do that. And they've been fortunate here in Dallas for a long time of having some pretty healthy running backs.
2nd down and 11. Play is made by D.D. Lewis, a gain of 1. And how about this offensive line today with Montre Holland in the left guard spot, getting the start finally here for the Cowboys in their 12th game, and I think that's worked out extremely well.
Well, it sure seems like it has, and you know that's the group that last year was able to, they were, as Jason Garrett would always tell us, we go as far as what our offensive line allows us to go, and that is true. I mean, that's basic fundamental football. But Tony Romo, as we have seen, he makes that group look a heck of a lot better when he's at quarterback in pass protection. But then it's a big group, and it's a big physical group that can move people in the running game also.
3rd down and 10, and Choice goes down quickly. D.D. Lewis, you start to look at Dallas, and at this point they've scored 69 points in their last 2 games. So the offense has started to pick it back up. Not coincidentally, Tony Romo has become more and more healthy as time has gone on, and now this entire group. This was always the carrot at the end of a weird week for you guys with the Cowboys. Now you get the layoff. It's almost like another bye week for Dallas as they don't play for 9 more days.
Yeah, it is, and it's certainly an advantage for the Cowboys to have 3 days off. Yeah, it's a short week and getting ready for this one, but to be able to have 3 days rest before you get back into the work week, when they go on the road to Pittsburgh next week, they're going to feel pretty good.
Penalty, 4th down.
Martellus Bennett and Bobby Carpenter both moved. They flagged Carpenter. And Wade Phillips, who watched his quarterback go down in that Arizona loss, an overtime loss that ended on the blocked punt. And then the offense just couldn't get anything done under Brad Johnson and Brooks Bollinger. That has, well, those are distant memories now, as Forsett calls for the fair catch at the end of a 50-yard punt. And now we go down into our production truck and hear from our director, Artie Kemner.
Hi, Joe. Thanks very much. This is producer Richie Zions. On behalf of the front of the truck, we'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, especially in Eastern Maryland, Wilmington, Delaware, Lake Worth, Florida. And happy birthday, Dad. Is it time to stop? And go Quakers. We're back up.
And how about,
don't forget Colby.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Colby Bourgeois. He's the one that. Okay, that's enough.
And somewhere John Madden is shaking his head right now.
Yeah, he just turned off the TV. He loves watching football. He loves this holiday in particular, but he just turned off the TV. Here's T.J. Duckett picking up 8.5. Are we at the 2-minute warning? Artie, are we at the 2-minute warning? Artie, can we take a break?
Go to break, Joe.
Second down and 1, and a first down carried by T.J. Duckett. This Dallas defense, 7 sacks today, the most by the Cowboys in any game since November of '97. One guy we didn't mention who makes our life so easy up here in the booth is Ben Altop in the back of the booth.
Yeah, and happy birthday to Ben.
Absolutely. And with 1.5 minutes left in this game, it's first down for Seattle, as the Cowboys now will head into those final 4 games at Pittsburgh, at home against the Giants, at home against the Ravens, and at Philadelphia with a record of 8-4. Catches made by Carlson. They traded up to get this kid Carlson, and he looks like he was worth it. He's a good-looking young tight end, second-round pick out of Notre Dame.
He's one of the few bright spots, really, when you look at this team. There has not been a lot of them, but he has been one. Marcus Trufant actually had been one on the defensive side of the ball. That wasn't the case today. But John Carlson has a bright future.
Carlson over 100 yards on the day as T.J. Duckett takes it down inside the 30. By the way, the studio show produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy, the highlights coordinator Janice Kazaza, the studio technical supervisor Jack Simmons, supervisor of remote field operations Jerry Steinberg, and the senior producer of Fox Sports Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. And we're down to a half-minute left in this game. So there are the stats: the 7 sacks and a good job controlling the running game of Seattle and getting pressure on Hasselbeck. I mean, what a way for him to end the day. He was crunched between 3 Dallas players, and yet he's able to roll over and get back up. I mean, that was serious.
Well, I tell you what, he has my respect, and for him to still be out there playing and, you know, going through what he has gone through and be getting hit as often as what he has been, he's not healthy, regardless of what he says, and he's battled, and he'll come back next week and he'll play just as hard as he has here tonight. And more importantly, he'll come back next year and rebound from a very difficult season. And he's still one of the elite players when he's healthy and playing like he's capable of.
Yeah, and when he's got some help. Mainly on that offensive line. Here's Branch in the end zone, incomplete. 13 seconds remain, and it's 4th down.
But that kind of, you know, goes back to really, Joe, as to how much is this offense going to change. I mean, Mike Holmgren has been the architect of this offense here in Seattle, and you know, is Gil Haskell going to be here? Is he going to be calling the plays for this group? You know, how much of the staff is going to stay in place? And you know, Greg Knapp, I know, is a good friend of Jim Mora Jr.'s. He runs a West Coast system. Potentially, he may be here calling the plays, but a lot of uncertainty. And Mike Holmgren, or excuse me, Matt Hasselbeck says he doesn't have any of the answers to any of that. And I think that would be a little unsettling to a lot of these players also.
A team that was in the Super Bowl and lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers is on 4th down. The pass is complete to Deion Branch, and I think everybody has had enough. That will do it. Hasselbeck clocks it, but the game clock is over. When we come back, we will hand out our Thanksgiving Day prize, the Galloping Gobbler, on the other side of the break.
What is this?
This is one pretty thing right here.
Yeah, it's
I like
just beautiful.
I guess it's better than not getting it.